Hey everybody, it's Brian Asbury, and I just wanted to welcome you to today's episode. If you could, like today's episode, hit that subscribe button, and let's continue to grow the developmentally speaking brand.
Today, my guest is an actor, writer, professional wrestler you've seen across WWE, TNA, AEW, Ring of Honor. Am I missing anything, sir?
I was in OVW briefly.
OVW, FCW.
House of Hardcore. I did a few tours with House of Hardcore.
You may know him as the Hollywood Hunk or Briley Pierce. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. When you were making that list, I was thinking, what? Oh yeah, I was in this. Yeah, cool. All right, nice. Thanks for having me on. What's going on?
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to ask you a question that you've probably been asked 100 times. What made you want to get in professional wrestling?
Wow, I thought you were gonna ask me a really. I forgot to give you. I was gonna give you a few things to not ask me about, and hey, if that comes up, I will just say I'm not gonna answer it. But that's an easy one. I was like, oh God, right away you're asking me a weird. Well, listen, I've always loved wrestling. I never, growing up, considered it something I wanted to pursue or could pursue. It was always this impossible, weird thing. Maybe like anything in entertainment seemed kind of, consider that as a future. I will say my older brother, since he was 5, was determined to be a pro wrestler, and we kind of all thought that was an insane, weird thing. But I got really into acting and comedy and theater, stage plays, writing plays, doing live improv comedy and stuff in college. Okay, so I started doing. I moved to Chicago during the summers to train with like Second City people in IO. What's it called now? IO Chicago. It used to be called Improv Olympic. So I was learning improv and that kind of thing. I would go back to school, and I was always athletic. I wrestled up until college, and then I started playing rugby. So I had that. I had the physical thing, and then I was doing a lot of performance, theatrical performance and comedic performance. And around the same time, my brother was in OVW training under WWE's developmental thing. So I would drive, on Wednesdays to go see him wrestle. And only like when I saw that, I started to think, whoa, it is kind of, it's not accessible the way going to get a job at a bank is
Mhm.
accessible, but it is literally possible. Um, and those were some of my favorite live wrestling shows to watch ever. People don't want to believe that. They want to think, oh no, PWG and this and that. Like, yeah, those are great, but man, seeing at the time when he was there was like '04, '05, '06, somewhere around there. Those times, those years, those kind of shows were so unique in that they had you could see people who are going to be literally the next WWE World Champion wrestling in the Davis Arena, this tiny little arena in the middle of Louisville, Kentucky, in like an industrial building. You could see Randy Orton. You could see people who would become everyone that would populated that the main roster seemed to. I mean, John Cena, Batista, Brock Lesnar, and then people like Santino Marella. I mean, my brother, Serena Deeb, the Spirit Squad. People like Shelton Benjamin. It's a real, Beth Phoenix. I mean, so many people. It was wild. And then you see people like Mark Henry and the Big Show sometimes just randomly. I thought those were like real magical shows to go watch. I got sidetracked, but so it was when I finished college. My brother was now living in Tampa, he was doing the early version of FCW, and I went to visit him and go to they're doing shows in a bar. They were doing like just it was like the tiniest little ring in a very smoky, you can smoke and drink bar, and I was like, whoa, I thought OVW was one thing. This is like the most stripped down. There's not even a
Mhm.
TV camera here. They were not even doing TV at the time. They were just training people in this extremely shitty building. When I got there, it was pretty nice. And then, of
Mhm.
course, they got the performance center. But at this time, like, there wasn't even a wall, like, to the outside. Like, it was just outside, a missing wall, 3 rings, and a weekly show at a bar, like, with a tiny little, I don't know if that was, like, the smallest ring I've ever seen, probably. But I remember thinking, what am I doing? You know, when I finish school, what is my deal? What do I want to do? I'm pretty set on moving to Chicago and pursuing maybe, you know, improv and acting and hope. You know, my dream at that time, my realistic dream was like maybe I can get on one of the Second City touring company lineups and tour around doing improv in sketches and sketch comedy and stuff. And so I was kind of faced with this. I'm giving you the longest answer ever. I'm
You're
sorry,
fine.
but I was kind of faced with a fork in the road of like, I started to really, I mean, I've always loved wrestling, and I thought, man, that's kind of a physical way of acting. Nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to hear, like, no, to me, it's real. It's not, okay? You're performing, all right? Sorry. I'm sorry 30 years ago, someone else already exposed that. And I just talked about my time at OVW with Jim Cornette, but you know, he was very good to me. Anyways, I decided to move to Chicago and pursue acting and comedy. And like as soon as I got, it was like the first week I was there, and I ended up, you know, I was spending summers there, but I was like, I'm moving here for real, for good. And very quickly after getting there, I thought, man, I really made the wrong decision. But is there a wrong decision? You know, life is just life, you know. And my brother came to town with WWE, and we hung out after the show. And I was like, "Hey, man, I think I want to leave Chicago and start wrestling or something." And he's like, "Why don't you find a school in Chicago?" And I knew Ace Steel had a school there, and so I tried to get a hold of Ace Steel, but I think by that time he didn't have a school. A few like a year or two ago asked him about that, and I think he confirmed the time frame wouldn't have worked. Like he was already not there anymore or whatever. And because I remember calling it, I found it in the phone book. There was a phone book back then, and no one would ever answer. And I'm like, man, isn't it kind of weird that you would look up a phone number and call it? But that's what it was. And I was going to some indie shows in Chicago to see like maybe there's some training stuff. Eventually, I realized I have to go somewhere like that has an opportunity to get on tape, you know. So I decided OVW is the spot. They had a tryout for like a reality show thing. It was called Breakout, and the winner would get a scholarship to Rip Rogers' advanced class. And so I tried out for that, and I made it into it, and then I ended up winning the thing, which is freaking awesome. And so I got a scholarship to Rip Rogers. I was a rookie of the year at OVW, and then Jim Cornette was putting me on TV way too soon, you know. And again, I say too soon. What's too soon? I don't know, man. I was kind of clueless, but doing my best and trying to learn on the spot, like live TV. They have weekly TV, and I just was so bad. But you know, I was in the ring with really experienced people. I had a lot of matches with like people who had wrestled for so long. They were wrestling there when my brother was there, you know, and very lucky to have trained with those people. And Cliff Compton was, I think, my first TV match, like on the pay-per-view on a Saturday. Jim Cornette was like, "Hey, we're gonna put you in there," and I remember Cliff being like, "Jim Cornette says you look like $1,000,000, so he's just putting you on TV." And I'm like, "I don't know how to wrestle yet." He's like, "He likes you." I'm like, "All right," you know, that was fun. What you know, I don't. I think I skipped your. Did I skip your thing? Your question? Did I ever answer what you asked me?
Yeah. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I started reliving all of my memories, and I forgot that we were on an interview, and I saw myself on the screen. I was like, "What am I doing? Did I answer?"
So how was your time in OVW with people like Rip
I loved
Rogers?
it. I thought it was great. I was only there. I wish I kind of was, you know, wish I would have been there longer, but I was there for about 6 months, and we had a big three company wide tryout where Ring of Honor, TNA, and WWE all were scouting us all in the same 2 days. I think like one day was two of them, and one day was the other one. And I was just thinking, I need to just. I'm still really new, but if I could show any of these people that I have a physique, I can talk, and that I can learn and follow directions, like I think someone here will want me, you know.
Mhm.
And John Laurinaitis was a WWE scout, and he liked me a lot. I remember seeing a giant line of people lined up to go shake his hand after the tryout, and he just walked away from all of them and walked over to me, and I thought, like, this is pretty fucking cool, you know. Pardon my language. And he was like, yeah, do you have a job here? Do you like living here? And I was like, I have a job. I don't really like living here. Would you ever consider moving to Florida? And I was playing it cool, like, oh, I don't know, maybe, yeah, Tampa, yeah, I've been there. It's not, I didn't talk like that, but that's kind of what I'm imagining right now. I basically wanted to grab him and go, dude, I'll go anywhere, hire me. And then he ended up setting up like a week-long visit to FCW to try out there. And I remember how great to me everyone in that roster was. That was like such a welcoming group of people. In particular, someone at the time who went by the name Husky Harris was like so great to me. Um, he would go on to change his name to Bray Wyatt, and I loved him. He was great. I remember doing this really, really, really long, grueling endurance drill, and I was in there with him. It would be like one man in the middle, and everyone else would switch out every 2 minutes. And I timed it. I was in there for I think 37 minutes straight, maybe at one point. But he, as we're locking up, just goes, just take it slow, breathe, don't worry, relax. And I thought, man, this is really nice. I'm your competition, basically. You could be a dick to me if you want. And everyone there was so great. Who was there? Like Roman Reigns was there, Leo Kruger was there, Seth was there, Tyler Black, I should say, was there. No, he was Seth Rollins then by then. Primo was not there, but Orlando was there. I don't know. Everybody that a lot of people I became really good lifelong friends with. Damian Sandow, whatever. It was a great time. It was cool. Norman Smiley, I bonded with heavily on the final day. We had a lot of time together. And then when I got signed, he would become a great. I just texted him yesterday. I hate needles. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This would be a little juicy gossip you can have. I hate needles and I hate having my blood taken because I will pass out. And it's very unpleasant. You might think, who cares? Then you wake up. It just sucks, man. You get sick all day. It's so brutal. I don't know if anyone who will see this or read this can relate to that, but it's a lifelong problem. So he would always on blood days go with me and let me squeeze his hand the whole time. Eventually they grew tired of that. They're like, just go do it on your own. You're making a scene here every time. I was, it was really annoying to everybody. So I would go on my own. But anyways, I just yesterday had to go to the doctor and do a physical, and it was my 5th time in a row of not fainting. I texted him a picture of me with my Band-Aid, and he was like, "Hey man, that's great. How's it going?" When NXT will have their blood days, they'll always text me, go, "Blood day, thinking of you." I love Norman Smiley. Yeah. So what's up? What's next? I'll tell you anything.
So how was your initial reaction to FCW after you got your developmental contract?
Oh man, I loved OVW's training and show. I loved how many shows you could be wrestling live 3 times a week, once on TV. There might be a pay-per-view. It was a lot of in-ring live experience with the crowd, but the training was basically only 2 days a week with Rip, and I would say only 2 days a week. I mean, that's incredible. But an FCW is 5 days a week. You are training however many hours a day. It's a huge deal. Then we had basically a promo seminar with Dusty Rhodes once a week. We had strength and conditioning with Rob McIntyre, who is still my coach for muscles, which going to his gym and working out with literally John Cena and Big E, there was a time when I was looking around the gym a few months in, maybe I was with Trent Beretta, and I said, hey man, I used to feel intimidated with all the giant muscle guys around, but actually working out here is so awesome because watching Big E just bench press and watching Cena do Olympic lifts, I feel like I am a muscle man. We're all in this together. Let's go. Everyone's always cheering each other on to lift heavier and heavier weights and get stronger and faster. And I've loved it. There was times when I loved going to that gym more than the wrestling training. Sometimes. But yeah, I loved it. I loved that first week visiting. I only got a taste of it, but I thought I gotta come here. I think I'm getting signed. I was just very positive. I'm if I just think I am and assume I am, I will. And then I did, which was great. Something funny about that process, Kristen Altman called me and she said, hey, we want to offer you a contract. We've been trying to hire you for a few months now, but Danny Davis and Jim Cornette said they needed you for TV storylines at OVW. Part of me, I was so nervous on the phone, and I was like, oh my God, is this the call? This is the phone call. And at first I was like, bro, you guys were preventing me from getting hired by making a living, with the biggest company in the world, but also pretty funny, kind of like. And I thought, you need me but that's how big of a deal OVW is or was back then. I am very removed from it now. I don't know what OVW is up to now. I know they have the Netflix show and someone else owns it and whatever, but back then, I thought of it as like a holy place or like a sacred area. Again, I'm very removed from it now, but back then it was, and the fact that WWE would listen and go, oh, okay, no problem. We'll take him in a few months. Finish up your tag team story on regional television in Kentucky. Like, that goes to show you how much like they thought of that play. They had a lot of reverence for OVW, which is very cool.
Did they have any initial plans for you as you were training in FCW, like what they wanted to do with you?
At first, I don't think so, but I think when Dusty started to see my promos, it was a similar scenario to Cornette Cornette basically looked at me in OVW and said, "You are handsome, generally have nice muscles, and are taller than most people here. You're on TV, basically here's your championship title." And Dusty was kind of like, "Whoa, you can talk and have a personality. You are on TV." And he started having me be the backstage interviewer, So I was doing like interview segments because he was kind of like, "I don't know what the wrestling plans are for you, but you need to be on camera." And I always appreciated that for him. Whatever would happen, basically he would always figure me in somewhere. Like when NXT became a TV show and not a competition anymore, we shot a pilot episode that is probably on some disc somewhere. And I was thinking, man, this is kind of exciting. I'm sure I won't be part of this. He had me in one of the main matches, which I thought was so freaking cool. That guy, like that man instilled in me something very crucial that I will never forget. He would kind of scoff at the idea that we were doing wrestling. He would say, "We're not doing wrestling. We're making movies." But he would say it with a baseball cap on and a big dip in and like squinting his eyes, little glasses. I can't do his voice. I'm not gonna try. But he would say, "We're making movies," and I even back then was like, "Holy shit, we are! It's like cinema." And if we can, and he kind of set the bar of like, this is where you want to be. If you're worried about having a 5-star match with arm drags and dives and whatever, you're gonna hit somewhere here and you'll be happy. But if you want to do this, it's up here, and that would never ever leave my mind, And I don't know, you might have fans watching this who will say, "Cool, dude, you lost a million matches on AEW Dark. Are you making movies?" But like, I'm not in charge of that. The things I am in charge of, I aspire to that, So if someone gives me a live mic and says, "We're in a jam, Hangman Adam Page just got a concussion on TV. Can you go out to the live crowd, get heat, and cause a scene with the Blackpool Combat Club?" Yes, I can. Let's go. I'm ready because I have that in me, And if my role in this movie tonight is to be the annoying piece of shit that Cincinnati hates, so Moxley can whoop me and they can swing me around, whatever, and make everybody happy. That's the movie I'm in tonight. So we're making movies, Hell yeah.
I agree. So when you were interviewing people, and then when they started booking you on wrestling matches, did they have an idea what they wanted to do?
Yeah. Actually, Dusty did. He was writing the TV then at the time. He had me insult Brad Maddox every time I interviewed him, and then eventually Maddox got sick of it and shoved me around, and then called me out from the ring, and then I had an impromptu. He's like, "I want you to tear off your interviewer suit," which was so fun, And so I did that, and I think then he had me and Maddox have an impromptu tag against Titus O'Neil and Percy Watson, and I think Dusty loved that we were kind of funny together. He loved me being the silly, naive up and comer, and Maddox being like the veteran who hates me but kind of loves me and wants to. It was a fun little odd couple. And then, 2 episodes later, we're tag champs, and we tour all over Florida, and every house show with, us and Xavier Woods going against Cesaro or Claudio. No, he was Cesaro there, and Dean Ambrose and Sandow. And I remember thinking as we were doing those loops around having that wrestling the same 3 versus 3 tag match every show in Florida, I was thinking, dude, life is awesome. These matches are so fun, and I know titles aren't real, but I have one, And I felt, it was a really fun time, and I would go to the beach all the time too. It was a sweet time in life, And Dusty would, sit us down and say, "Yeah, I'm pitching you for SmackDown, both you guys. This is a fun, like, odd couple tag team." I don't know if that's ever gonna happen, is what I was thinking, but it's nice to be thought of, and this is a fun little trip we're going on. And then I broke my leg, dude. I broke my fibula, I think is the bone. And I remember the day I think I broke it, I was like passed out, sleeping, resting, kind of like, and I woke up and Sando was my roommate at the time, and he says, "Hey man, I got real bad news for you." They asked me to get the tag team title from you, so I had to give it, and I'm like, oh, I felt crushed. I know. And what I was crushed about was not the actual belt, but the fact that, like, I thought I was riding high and all set, and then some freak accident, bam, you can't walk, your title's gone, you're off TV. I don't know, like, it was all these things all at once. But it was exciting. That's life. There's highs and lows.
So how was the recovery to come back to FCW?
Well, I think that was around the time they wanted to use Maddox as a fake referee,
Hmm.
and he started training with the refs. So he stopped wrestling and started just doing ref stuff, and he was touring for months with WWE as a referee. And I remember at one point we were talking, and he was like, "Dude, I think they forgot. Like, I'm just a ref now." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, I ref matches. I work as a ref all day long on all these trips." And I'm like, there's still that plan. He's like, "Maybe, but I might have just been like, they must have forgotten. I'm just a ref now." And eventually he would do his big secret heel turn, ref heel. Man, I love that. But he really did for a month think grew up dreaming to be a wrestler, and now I got accidentally tricked into being a referee. Like, couldn't. So I was on crutches, and I would just really focus on promo day. So I was trying to manage Sakamoto, who was Lord Tensai's little guy.
Hmm.
Which was a good plan because we ended up tagging together after that. But I would do commentary on the shows. I would do basically Dusty was like, if you can't wrestle, you're still doing everything else, which I asked. I wanted to. I'm like, I want to be involved and develop this whole thing while
Hmm.
this is here. And then I got better, and then I think I started very quickly tagging with Sakamoto, and we called ourselves best friends forever. And then when Trent started calling himself the best friends to Chuck Taylor, and that became a big thing on the indies in Japan, I texted him and said, "Hey man, did you steal my tag team name?" And I think he just wrote back, "Oh shit." So let it be known. But I'm not gonna take anything away from those two guys. They had an amazing saga for years and years, and are doing big things in AEW. But still, best friends forever came first in FCW.
So when you were tagging, did you feel like the focus was still on developing you, or did they kind of, like with Brad being gone and then you were tagging with somebody else, did you just feel
Oh,
like
I'll
you
give you
got
a real
lost in the
candid
shuffle?
answer. Someone else took over FCW, and that person had the only interest he had in me was getting rid of me as fast as possible. So, but no. Uh, when Dr. Tom was in charge and Dusty had a lot of pull and say, I was the literal top 10 of FCW on the
Hmm.
wall on a dry erase board, and I was like 3, or 4 or whatever. And I really thought, like, this is reassuring to come into work every day and know that I'm putting in all this effort and getting something out of it. That was a good feeling.
Hmm.
And then the regime shifted, and man, I'm embarrassed to tell you, I was in all the top training polishing classes. And then overnight, I was in the beginners class with Baron Corbin and Mojo Rawley and models who had never wrestled before. I like both of those people a lot, but at the time, I felt very angry about that. And
How long?
then when NXT became a weekly thing, suddenly I was not wrestling anymore. I was just interviewing people again, which I took as a tremendous ego. I was pissed. I hated it.
Hmm.
I would wrestle on all the live events, and then, hey, we're doing filming. Bring your suit. Okay, cool. And some of that was cool because I had a lot of power to, like, they would basically say, "Can you produce this segment?" And I'm like, I was into it because I love being creative and helping people with interviews. But what I didn't like was, here's a little, if I have to give you a negative interpretation of it, it was, "Hey, Ryan, can you help this wrestler be interesting?" And I was thinking, maybe if I,
Swap
if
the roles.
I interview myself, maybe, and they would all go on to have great TV careers, but I was thinking, if you need someone to help make them interesting, maybe they should not be on camera. But people have who they want to have doing whatever. I'm appreciative and grateful that I had anything to do with any of those TV shows. So cool.
When your release came, were you shocked or did you see it coming with the regime
Well, I
change?
wanted to quit, and I remember having a lot of like emotional breakdown moments privately, where I would like, like a movie, I'd like drive to the beach at like 11 at night on a Wednesday and be like, what am I doing with my life, dude? Obviously, this guy wants to fire me. I'm spinning in a circle. I'm spinning my wheels. I have like any hope I had of progressing in this company is gone. Like it's gone. Like it's not like, oh, play the game, be political. No, dude. Like when someone took over, that was it. Like there's a timer going down basically. And I was thinking I gotta just move to LA and just do acting and writing and if this is the only company in the world and whoever doesn't like me, that's pretty much it. Like I gotta
Hmm.
move on. So I set a timeline. I gave myself until a certain week. I think I gave myself a few months, and I said, if nothing progresses in my career in WWE by this time, I am leaving. I'm quitting. I'm just quitting. And that week came, and then I got released, and I was like, all right, cool, perfect. See you later.
So what was your
So
next move? LA?
I moved to LA like a month later, I think. I was kind of enjoying life in Tampa, like hanging out with Trent, still going to Rob's gym, and going to the beach. So it was almost like my exact same life was happening, but just without the work.
Hmm.
And then I thought, this is one of those things where like I can't mentally sustain this and be happy. So it was very quick. I like basically suddenly moved to LA. I didn't have even somewhere to live. I think I went there with my car and like a few laundry baskets of clothes and just thought like I have some friends there, I'll figure it out. And I did. And I just poured everything into acting and writing and auditioning and all that stuff and making friends who did all of that kind of stuff. And I just went to see a movie last night with one of the first friends I met in that kind of community when I first moved here. And Maggie Levin, the director or screenwriter director who directed Heel with me. She directed the Wanted Man short we made for Nick. Someone I have been friends with for the 10 years I've lived here. Man, what a time that was! I was kind of lost. I knew John Morrison, and like two other people, and that was it. So I don't know. I was kind of just starting fresh, but that's when people have moments like that and I can recognize it, they're kind of like floundering. I always say, just go. Like, I didn't have a plan. I didn't know how any of it worked. I was auditioning for non-union commercials, no clue what I'm doing at all. Someone who cast me in a non-union commercial for like iPhone screens or something, I don't know what it was. Um, 5 years later would text me and say, "Do you still live in LA? I work for Jimmy Kimmel Live now. Can you come in? Do you want to like be on the live show tonight as this character?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So like, and I think like if I just stayed in Tampa moping and wondering like, "Oh, will NXT take me back?" Like that's not gonna happen. None of
Hmm.
that. Those things. You gotta jump off a mountain, and I don't mean literally kill yourself. Don't jump off a mountain, but like, you know, life will give you things if you kind of blindly just go for it. That's not great advice. That's not a good way to word it. In literal terms, I showed up with no plan and just was saying yes to things.
Hmm.
Now, some actors would be snooty and say non-union commercials. Well, I would never do that. All right, I'm brand new. I need to do it because I can't join the union unless I do non-union stuff. This is very inside baseball for the acting world. But I had to do those things to get, I was in a Venmo non-union commercial. Okay, I was in a pretty badass Venmo spot that was on during the World Series. They made billboards. It was on during The Simpsons, which I felt so cool about. There's like 3 different spots. I was on like a little pony, it was like Pony Up was their slogan for Venmo. Venmo was brand new, and my girlfriend was like, had been acting since she was like a teenager, and she was like, "What are you getting paid for this?" And the older was like, "If this was SAG, that you would be getting paid like 10 times that." And I was like, "Don't ruin this. This is my first cool like national commercial. Like, let me, And she was like, "Okay, all right, I'm sorry, like so that's pretty funny to me. But I thought it was cool as hell to be getting flown to Vancouver to film with, and I also felt like it's nice to be on this set and be treated with such respect and like, when you're a wrestler, I don't want to put this in bad terms. You are a cog in a machine that someone else thought of the night before, and you're just playing role, for the most part.
Mhm.
And when you're an actor casting something, you are like royalty. It was just. I remember telling I was like, Trent Sandow, you will not fucking believe this. They treat you nicely. Like I have a trailer right now instead of a hallway. I know the budget is not there to treat wrestlers like that.
Mhm.
For any company. But it was just it felt good. It was a nice difference to know like this world that you abandoned to go start wrestling has been here the whole time, and it's always going to be here. And I started doing live comedy a lot, like weekly. That's something I hadn't done in a while. So got heavily involved with Second City and UCB and IO and any like the Comedy Store. We were doing stuff. I was in a weekly show at Second City with Brett Gunnell invited me, a Second City Detroit guy. It was like some Second City Detroit people like Sam Richardson, who's gone on to become this massive movie star, dude. But we would do a show where we had a guest pro wrestler tell stories for 10 minutes, and then we would do improv scenes based on those stories. And those were some of the happiest, most fun times ever. And again, if I stayed moping around,
Mhm.
and no offense to other people who do this, but I didn't want to go work indies. Like Sami Zayn, when I got released, was like, just go tear it up in the indies. They'll take you back. And I thought, I don't want to come. I don't want to beg someone to take me back or prove like, see, you were wrong. Can I come? Like, I want to like progress in life somewhere.
Mhm.
When AEW happened, that was happened and plan happening, and it was fun and a very nice, cool thing that happened to go there. But I wasn't like begging someone to go there.
Mhm.
I don't know.
So what seems to be your focus now? You wrestle, you act, you're doing the comedy. What's your main focus now?
My main focus has always been the same, which is I want to get people to smile, So that
Mhm.
can mean a lot of things, right? That could be wrestling, that could be doing comedy, that could be writing, that could be acting. And smile is kind of general. I want them to feel something, and I want to make a living doing that. So I'm not really, I'm not picking one thing, and I never will, and no one has ever made me. So
So
every AEW contract I've ever signed, I had put in there that I cannot be penalized or punished in any way for booking an acting job and going, and they're very cool about that,
Mhm.
So I always appreciate that. And I was like, hey, it's literally my name, Hollywood Hunk. So I have to, like, I have to go act sometimes. And I've only had to miss a few, like, I think 2 AEW shows ever. And one, when I had to go do reshoots for Iron Claw, I remember I had to like get on a red eye, and then arrive at like it was one of those real close calls, but I
Mhm.
didn't miss.
So you've got an upcoming show with your brother in Las Vegas?
Yes,
Yeah.
Hunkamania in Vegas. It's gonna be AEW Double or Nothing weekend. It's the Friday before the pay-per-view. It's at the Nerd on Fremont Street, downtown Vegas, which is an amazing venue that's like video game and pro wrestling, luchador themed. Like, even if you just go hang out at that bar, it's so fun. I always go there when I go to Vegas. We have live comedy. We have live magic. We have pro wrestler surprise guests. We have a Q&A with me and Nick. And there's I don't know when this will go up, but at the time we're recording this, I have 10 VIP tickets left. So maybe they're all gone by now. But if you want to do the meet and greet, you have to get the VIP. We have Steve Agee from Peacemaker and Suicide Squad. He's doing some comedy. He's hilarious. Nick Nemeth, who maybe your fans have heard of. me. We have Harley Cameron, who is AEW star, who's like I think extremely funny. She'll be doing. I don't know if I'm allowed to say what she's doing, but it's a comedy act, and it'll be very fun. I've seen it. And Big Bill, who is one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life, who I took to his first open mic pre-pandemic in LA, and he crushed. We spent like a few hours writing jokes, and he just crushed at this open mic, which no one crushes at an open mic. It was incredible. He's been on a few of our shows. He's done a lot of comedy outside of my shows, and I'm very happy that he's gonna be on it. And we have a magician duo, the Cosmic Romantics, who are extremely fun, and some surprise guests I can't tell you about. Brad Attitude, also a former FCW tag champ. Brad Attitude will be there.
I've had Brad on the show. He's a great guy.
He's a great dude. He would do, once in a while he would do some of our shows, and then I think I booked him on the last 3 or 4 because I'm just like, he's extremely good at comedy, stand-up comedy for a pro wrestling crowd. He is like made for that, so it's perfect. It's a really fun show.
Where can they get tickets at?
The tickets are on Eventbrite, which is, you can find the link anywhere on my Twitter or Instagram. My brother's been posting it a lot. Just search Hunkamania Nemeth Bros. Don't go to Hunk-O-Mania, because that is a male strip review in Las Vegas. It's kind of funny that only when we do Vegas shows I have to specify that, because you may accidentally go to although pro wrestlers doing comedy is similar to a male strip review. So, but I would say go to our show.
Absolutely. Where can people reach out to you at?
I don't want anyone reaching out to me. Okay. Leave me alone. But you can find me on Twitter and Instagram and I think TikTok, all the same. Rai Nem Nem, which is an adorable nickname that I gave myself.
I'll give you that, sir. And one final question. If you had any advice to give to people getting into professional wrestling, what would it be?
When they say don't come back to Collision, don't go back to Collision, okay? No, I'm kidding. I went back to Collision a bunch of times. I think it's the same advice to give to anyone who wants to do anything. You just got to do it, okay? So it's not going to be easy. You probably don't live in a city with a wrestling school. You probably don't live in a city where other people have that same dream. Whether it's I want to be a wrestler, I want to be an actor, I want to be a singer, whatever. Go somewhere that you could do that, okay? So if you want to be on Broadway, go to New York and start doing theater acting classes. If you want to be a wrestler, find a wrestling school, okay? They are out there. There are reputable wrestling schools. There are some shitty ones. Go to a good one, and find out, I would say in any of these disciplines, it's also good to help out at whatever the show is. So be a stage manager for plays, like be an assistant to a director, help build the wrestling ring. I cannot tell you how many wrestling rings I've built and taken down, and it sucks and it's not fun and that shit is heavy, but you got to do it because unless you are this percentage of people who are just amazing, natural, gifted, incredible performers, you are probably not going to get booked on a show unless someone likes you. And so it's good to be well liked, and I don't mean an ass kisser. I mean like literally help. Work security, work ring crew, whatever the current jobs are. I don't know. Do them. Do set up. Help out. I was doing ring security in Cleveland for months while I was trying to learn. You just gotta be around. Just be around and be polite and respectful, and don't be like a piece of shit.
That's perfect advice.
And I would say another thing will help you. The magic tip for being a pro wrestler is go to Pro Wrestling Tees and grab a Summer of Hunk Ryan Nemeth t-shirt designed by Ronnie Jared, this artist. That's me. And it's going to be summer soon, and you don't want to be caught without your Summer of Hunk t-shirt. You look really cool. That will help you get eyes on you. You'll be more I'll like you more,
No bigger compliment.
Well, thank you. The Iron Claw is streaming on Max, and Hunkamania tickets there's probably still some available. So come see us in Vegas. Let's party.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for what you've done for professional wrestling and what you continue to do, sir. It's been an honor to take out some of your time tonight.
I am astounded that you have anything to thank me for, but thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
If there's ever anything I can do, please feel free to reach out.
Well, that is very kind. Thank you very much.